A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. In the name of the Lord, the most merciful and the most benevolent, we start the proceedings today. My name is Professor Dr. Rahil Kamar. I am the head of Science and Technology sector. And we welcome you all to this inauguration of the First International Symposium on Space Science, Importance, Challenges, and Emerging Opportunities in the Space Industry and in the Islamic world. We are holding this session to enlighten our member states and also to spread the knowledge of space sciences. In this regard, I'm pleased to announce that we have a number of different excellencies who would be with us in this opening ceremony, including our Director General, Dr. Salim AlMalik, including Rear Admiral of US Navy Thomas Zelibor, Professor Driss Ouaouicha, Fawad Chaudhry, His Excellency Fawad Chaudhry, and Cheick Modibo Diarra. For the opening remarks and the welcome remarks, I'm pleased to introduce His Excellency Dr. Salim AlMalik, Director General of ICESCO. Dr. Salim AlMalik is a physician by training. After obtaining his medical degree, His Excellency did postgraduate training in allergy and clinical immunology, as well as in pediatrics. His Excellency also has a master's degree from the Health Policy and Management program of the Harvard University, followed by an administrative fellowship of the American College of Physicians. Dr. AlMalik was appointed as the Director General of the Islamic World Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization in May 2019. Prior to being appointed as the Director General of ICESCO, Dr. AlMalik was the Advisor and General Director of International Affairs at the Ministry of Education, as well as an advisor on health affairs to the Minister of Education in Saudi Arabia. He also served as the Secretary General of the Saudi National Commission for Education, Science, and Culture, as well as being a consultant on allergy and immunology for the King Abdulaziz Medical City, and numerous other leading positions. Excellency, please deliver your welcome address.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Excellencies, ministers, astronauts, space scientists and researchers, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. A very warm welcome from the beautiful city of Rabat, Morocco, to everyone participating in this forum. I am privileged to inaugurate this international symposium on space science, importance, challenges, and emerging opportunities in the space industries and the Islamic world under the theme, Building Tomorrow's Innovators. Today, our discussion will focus on a critical and important sphere of knowledge and development, space sciences, technology, and innovation, which offers an incomparable fact-based perspective that can and will help us overcome the challenges our planet is facing. This topic is our determination to find balance in recognizing today's exigencies and the brave foresight of what we can do tomorrow. Information derived from space science and technologies can help us enhance further the quality of our life, in particular by improving agricultural yields, develop new sources of energy, recycle our waste, protect and monitor our environment, and numerous other interventions to make life better and easier. Space science research generate technology and enable true innovations across multiple platforms of science and engineering. It is to some extent a green technology. If perfected, it becomes a technology that enhances the quality of life without harming the planet we live in. In developing countries, a large gap in awareness about the importance of space science and its direct implication in many fields exists. Space science and innovations revolutionized the communication industry by leaps and bounds through remote presence, infotainment, integrated banking system, and healthcare industry future in remote surgeries, telemedicine, and virtual vital sign monitoring that saves lives. The world's population is projected to increase from 7.6 billion people today to 9 billion in the year 2050, a dramatic 19% fold growth rate, and with it comes the shortage of energy, the shortage of water, and the increase in environmental damages and many other problems. Imagine a space solar power station that would generate energy 24 hours a day. If every country on the planet participates in a global initiative for a perpetual supply of renewable energy from space, it would produce more than 10 times or more the energy the world needs. On the other hand, water scarcity is a perennial challenge in many countries, particularly in less developed communities. Only 1% of the Earth's 70% water surface is fresh and potable. Reverse osmosis technologies for seawater desalination are the most cost-effective way of providing a source of fresh and safe drinking water. But the process is energy intensive. Through space-based solar power station linked to the reverse osmosis technology process, the cost could be brought down substantially for a large-scale production of fresh water supply. Space science and technology can also be an effective disaster management forecasting and modeling tool for earthquake, volcanic eruption, landslides, avalanches, flash floods, among other natural phenomena to avert the loss of lives. The direct impact of space science and technology on our member state, national productivity, and accelerated economic growth will require collaboration among space-assisted industry locally and working together with major space technology institutions regionally and internationally in other developed countries. We live in an era where space science defines our future. It is paramount that space science and innovation becomes a major part of every country's government long-term plans and strategies. ICESCO, in partnership with the United States Space Foundation, is holding this important forum today to create awareness about space science and innovation among our member state stakeholders. Time has come that we should build strong capabilities in space science, innovation, and technology. In the 21st century, most of the development will be in space science and technology. Those who invest in space science today will lead the world of tomorrow. We encourage our member state to invest heavily in space science and technology before it's too late. It is important to build local capacities by empowering our youth through space-inspired technologies, providing them with a platform to develop their skills, gain scientific knowledge, and propagate them in their communities. The 21st century thrust into space science would herald the world's next industrial revolution, which might aptly be named Space Industrial Revolution. Albeit this revolution may not literally mean it will take place only in space, but essentially means the creation of architectural and revolutionary changes leading to new space markets, systems, and technologies in a colossal scale. We at ICESCO and all our participants are eager to hear today from our distinguished speakers and panelists, and we look forward to a fruitful and productive discussion and recommendation that will help and inspire future space scientists and our young generation. The time has come for building tomorrow's innovators. And let me conclude by sharing a wise word from then famous physicist Stephen Hawking, when he said, "I don't think the human race will survive the next 1,000 years unless we spread into space. There are too many accidents that can befall life on a single planet, but I am an optimist. We will reach out to the stars." Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you very much, Excellency. You certainly, elaborated very nicely the crux of why we are holding this symposium today. Just a housekeeping announcement for people on Zoom. We have translation in Arabic and French also, so you can always go over there, listen, or go and visit one of our Facebook pages in the relevant language that you want to listen to your talk. All right, now we have amongst us the CEO of our co-host, which is Space Foundation. We are really pleased to have him on board here. He is Rear Admiral of US Navy, Thomas Zelibor. Admiral Zelibor is leading the world's premier nonprofit organization founded in 1983 for the global space ecosystem, the Space Foundation. Admiral Zelibor has a broad and accomplished leadership and entrepreneurial background. He was the chairman and CEO of Lightwave Logic, president and CEO of Flatiron Solutions, vice president for Science Applications International Cooperation, as well as a member of the Department of Homeland Security's Space Systems Critical Infrastructure Working Group and Defense Innovation Board's Space Advisory Committee. During his esteemed military career, he served as Director of Global Operations, Deputy for C4 Integration and Policy Wing, and Director of the Space Information Warfare Command and Control Division. Admiral Zelibor retired as a Navy Rear Admiral and Navy aviator with over 35 years of significant leadership experience. Admiral, I invite you to deliver your speech.
Well, thank you very much for the kind introduction. I really appreciate it. And Excellency, thank you for allowing me and the members of the Space Foundation's leadership team to join you today for today's program. We're extremely honored to be the co-host and your partner for today's First International Symposium on Space Science. Our only regret is that we could not be there with you in person, but hopefully next time we can make that happen. Today's exchange is the first of what I hope will be many more conversations that we'll have on how we collectively advocate for innovation and work together to better life for all of us on Earth. That's Space Foundation's mission, and we're honored to engage all of you, learn from you, share inspiration with you, and do things that make a difference every day around the globe. One of the most exciting things about my job as CEO is seeing all the new change agents that are emerging in what we at Space Foundation call the global space ecosystem. Nowhere is that more obvious than by what all of you at ICESCO are doing today. You're opening the doors of opportunity where countries, commerce, education, and culture can work together to lift people up and empower them to think and act boldly to change lives for the better. At Space Foundation, we see that happen every day as space is a shared place of inspiration for people of all ages, countries, and backgrounds. We welcome the start of this relationship and the ability to connect and work with you in these and many other areas. As I mentioned a moment ago, we see what is happening in space today as a global ecosystem. Let me explain that a little bit further. Today's space environment is a collection of integrated systems and stakeholders. Those include governments, companies, researchers, educators, students, military forces, and infrastructures, all existing and operating in a defined place. At Space Foundation, we view all these systems and stakeholders as the global space ecosystem. And like every ecosystem, it must be managed and balanced to ensure its sustainability. The health and durability of this ecosystem depends on factors in three core mission areas: information, education, and collaboration. At Space Foundation, we have organized ourselves to serve each of those activities. Around this time last year, I shared with the news media and our global stakeholders that the 2019 space economy was worth about 424 billion US dollars. In a few short weeks, Space Foundation will be sharing the new space economy number for 2020. Even with the economic downturn caused by the global pandemic, we expect that number to grow as multiple financial outlets have forecast the global space economy to exceed over $1 trillion in the next decade. Those numbers and economic growth are certainly attractive, but to achieve and exceed those promising projections, it requires us to diversify the participants, investments, and partnership models that enable greater collaboration. Governments, industry, finance, national security, research, and other communities are all scrambling to grow the workforces needed today. Building those will be essential to our future, both for operations in space and back here on Earth, where the greatest values and impacts will be delivered. Today, globally, there are 85 countries operating in space, with thousands of commercial enterprises rising to take their place in orbit and throughout the space economy. Those companies and organizations employ millions around the globe and inspire billions more with promise, vision, and the more priceless of commodities, hope. This level of commercial activity will only increase as established and emerging companies offer goods, services, and space-inspired technologies that fuel space operations, enrich space supply chains, and add global value. Today, this global environment is primed for growth and expansion, but only if we commit to the steps that ensure this ecosystem's stability. And these steps include expanding the diversity of people in the space community, preparing a skilled and knowledgeable workforce with room for all, balancing smart investments with sound policies to enable entrepreneurship, innovation, and opportunity, and finally, building systematic resiliency to preserve the safety and security of space infrastructure and operations. In preparing for today's remarks, I spent some time reviewing the vision, mission, and objectives of ICESCO. Something that struck me was how similar our two organizations are in what we want to do for people. Collectively, we want understanding, education, investment, and opportunity, not just today, but for a sustainable future that not only inspires and changes lives for the better, but gives people hope of not just what they can do, but what they can become. Space Foundation looks forward to working with all of you to share and build the information, education, and collaboration that advocates for innovation in all its forms, because that makes life on Earth better for all of us. That will always be the mission that unites us, and we look forward to working with you in the days, months, and years ahead. Thank you very much for allowing me to join you today, and I'm looking forward to today's program.
Thank you very much, Excellency, Admiral Zelibor. Certainly, we are very glad to know that you will be working with us, and we really, I think together we can certainly make a difference. Space is not only just the final frontier for mankind to conquer. Like you pointed out, it is certainly, the place where our economies and where our livelihoods will grow. We are now pleased to have amongst us an academician par excellence. His name is Professor Dr. Driss Ouaouicha, and he is our guest of honor today. He is the Minister Delegate of Higher Education and Scientific Research of Morocco. His Excellency Professor Driss is a graduate of the Muhammad V University in Rabat, and we have Muhammad V University represented very well today by its professors here. His Excellency then obtained his Master's in Applied Linguistics and Language Teaching from the University of Wales, followed by a PhD in Linguistics and Education from UT Austin in USA. He served as the Executive Director of Scholarships at Al-Akhwan University in Ifran, as well as the Dean of the Faculty of Human Sciences at the University of Meknes. In 2008, His Excellency was appointed the President of Al-Akhwan University in Ifran, a position which he held till 2019 when he was appointed the Minister Delegate in charge of higher education and research. Excellency, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Dear Dr. Salim AlMalik, Director General of ICESCO, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I'm very pleased to take part in the opening of this First International Symposium about space science, its importance, challenges, and emerging opportunities in the space industry and Islamic world. I come to this topic as an educator, as a manager and leader in the education field. So I would like to commend the organizing committee for this symposium and for choosing this very important topic that needs close attention in order for us to contribute and move forward along with other countries interested and involved. More than 50 years of human activity in space have produced societal benefits that have improved the quality of life on Earth. The first satellites designed to study space environment and test initial capabilities in the Earth orbit contributed critical knowledge and abilities to develop satellite telecommunications, global positioning, and advances in weather forecasting. There is a remarkable history of science, in particular that of the domain of space in the Arab Muslim civilization, which in the Middle Ages enjoyed brilliant prosperity. Islamic astronomy comprises astronomical developments made particularly during the Islamic Golden Age between the 19th and 13th century, and I will not cover all of it, and written in the Arabic language. These developments mostly took place in the Middle East, Central Asia, Andalusia, and North Africa, and later in the Far East and India. First major Muslim work of astronomy was produced by the mathematician Al-Khwarizmi around 1830. The work contains tables for the movements of the sun, the moon, and the 5 planets known at the time. Another memorable character with an exceptional contribution to space science is Al-Qasim Abbas ibn Firnas, Andalusian of Amazigh origin, who was the first person to fly with a craft heavier than air. While staying in the air for about 10 minutes, he distinguished himself as a scientist, inventor, philosopher, and musician. He was referred to in Andalusia as Hakim al-Andalus, the wise man of Andalusia. Space science and scholarship is well-founded in Islamic tradition. In space.com website, Mike Wald refers to a researcher in the American University of Sharjah, and in which he talks about astronomy in the Islamic tradition, and these are his words. Astronomy has traditionally been important in the practice of Islam. Gassoum, the professor at ASU, wrote, helping believers calculate prayer times and locations, determine directions to the holy city of Mecca, and map out the dates of festivals and pilgrimages. Thus, Gassoum goes on, hundreds of stars and constellations have Arabic names, such as Altair, Deneb, Vega, and Rego. This is to say that there is a history and tradition to build on as we move forward. And let me talk a little bit about today and take Morocco as an example. In Morocco, like many other Muslim countries, recent interest in space science began in the 1980s with the creation of the first lab for astronomy and geophysics. This period was marked by the accession of Morocco to the International Astronomical Union and the first experience of astronomical observation at the Okamden site near Marrakesh in the High Atlas. Faculty and researchers were encouraged to participate, such as members of the University Qadi Ayyad in Marrakesh, High Energy Physics and Astrophysics Lab, and the Okamden Observatory in Marrakesh boosted national interest in the domain, and it became one of the most important research infrastructures in astrophysics in Africa, in particular with the installation of 5 domes and several related instruments, with several research themes including planetology and small bodies of the solar system, meteorology and space science, and a radio telescope that allows Morocco to position itself further in the field of astronomy on an international scale. The team of this observatory participated actively with the University of Liège in Belgium in a discovery which made it possible to detect gas molecules in a comet coming from a star system other than the solar system. The observatory has very recently discovered 3 planets aged 120 million years old and 2 other stars orbiting a mother star. One of the most important achievements recently is putting into orbit 2 Moroccan satellites, Mohammed VI-A in November 2017 and Mohammed VI-B in November 2018. They cover an area of 250,000 square kilometers and make it possible to set up more than 370 thematic maps, thus providing latest generation data for monitoring agricultural activities, prevention of natural disasters, monitoring of environmental changes and desertification, as well as geographical and geological surveys. All this data and information that the 2 satellites provide will inevitably help Moroccan scholars to carry on their research working in the best conditions. A university nanosatellite research project was founded as part of partnership between this ministry, the National Defense Administration, the Royal Center for Space Remote Sensing, and the Center for Scientific and Technological Research, and Mohammed V University of Rabat, which coordinates the implementation of this project with other universities. This project aims to supervise and support Moroccan universities for the realization of university nanosatellites. This project involves several doctoral students on themes related to the field of space technologies. Like most other Muslim countries, space researchers have been looking for optimal conditions for research to flourish and develop. To cite but a few, Mr. Kamal Udghiri has worked with NASA for 20 years now, played a major role in multiple missions, notably those related to Mars exploration vehicles. He received the 2020 Space Science Prize from the American Institute of Aeronautics and Astronautics for Cold Atom Laboratory. Ms. Asma Boujibar is the first Moroccan woman to join NASA in 2014 to continue research on the differentiations of planets. This specialist in astronomy and volcanology succeeds 3 other Moroccan researchers at NASA. 12 high school students, including 8 girls, won a full scholarship for a stay at NASA's Huntsville Space Camp in Alabama in the United States as part of Race to Space competition organized by the US Embassy. This interest shown by Moroccan youth in this area, as like many other Muslim countries, is the fruit of scientific outreach actions carried by universities In Morocco, universities such as Al Akhawain University Astronomy Club, the University Qadi Iyad in Marrakesh, University Hassan II in Casablanca, and the Hassan II Academy of Science and Technology, as well as University Mohammed V in Rabat. Like other countries in the Islamic world, Morocco promotes space science and technology as the essential catalyst to achieve the ambition set by the global goals, including sustainable development, climate change, the reduction of risks, and the impact of disasters throughout the world. Morocco has launched a number of initiatives to acquire space technology and allow research for scientific information to develop. This first international ICESCO Symposium on space science calls our attention to the future of space research in the current context of evolution and modernization of technologies. It also challenges us on taking actions and getting more involved in this evolving field that represents the future of our planet, among other emerging new technologies. There are encouraging signs of interest in space research in Islamic countries, as some of the examples I mentioned about Morocco. Looking at the scientific production today through Scopus, I found this morning that research production in the last 5 years only, from 2016 to 2020, the production in the fields of earth and planetary sciences on the one hand, and physics and astronomy on the other hand, has moved from 700 to 2,000 publications in refereed journals in the Islamic world. So it has almost tripled, whereas in Morocco, it was multiplied by 9, moving from just 7 to over 63 today. The presence of citizens of Islamic countries in very advanced research centers, global research centers in the field of space technology comforts us all, reassuring us that there are young, promising, potential, great researchers in the field. But at the same time, it invites us to consider seizing these opportunities and investing in more talent, education, and training within our own societies. Based on a 2017 statistic, more people live outside the country of their birth than ever before today. That's 250 million people, up from 79 million. We need to empower scientific fields in general, give more support and space to sciences, and support the environment needed to encourage research. It is important for us that we seize the opportunity available. It is evident that there is growing interest in space explorations, not only among the academic community, but also among the funding providers, among the entrepreneurial community. Mr. Elon Musk, the leader in the electric vehicle industry, has built rockets and is leasing SpaceX to the American government. Jeff Bezos, the richest man in the world today, has committed to going into space himself and trying to precede other people. Prior to both, Sir Richard Branson of the UK has invested in spacecraft and space tourism for curious people who have the means to satisfy part of their curiosity and push the boundaries of research and human experience further. Given the talent, knowledge, and expertise the organizers have gathered in this conference program, I have no doubt that sound recommendations will be made. With the leadership of ICESCO, the Islamic world could have its own space program, space agency, which can work with sister entities such as NASA, the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, and ESA, the European Space Agency, to further the research, exploration, and discovery for a better life and well-being of humankind. Wishing this conference a very successful meeting. I thank you all for your attention.
Thank you very much, Excellency. Certainly, you have very rightly pointed out the contributions of the Muslim scientists. None other than, Ibn Hatham, who was a polymath and who discovered in fact, postulated how the planets moved and how they rotated around the sun. And his work was the foundation of the algorithms which were developed subsequently for predicting when the moon will be sighted, which brings me to my next guest, which is His Excellency Fawad Chaudhry, our guest of honor. He's the Minister of Information and Broadcasting of Pakistan. And he had the courage, when he was the Minister of Science and Technology, to go against all the cultural perspectives and develop a calendar to predict very, very accurately of when Eid will be held and when Ramadan will start and so on and so forth. His Excellency is a politician and lawyer by profession and has worked as a political analyst and an anchor for several media organizations. His Excellency has been a member of the National Assembly of Pakistan since 2018. His Excellency has held the portfolio of Minister of State for Information and Political Affairs and subsequently as the Minister of State for Political Affairs. His Excellency also served, like I mentioned earlier, as the Minister of Science and Technology, where he overhauled the ministry completely and took several new initiatives. Currently, His Excellency is the Minister of Information and Broadcasting of Pakistan. Excellency, the floor is yours.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. First of all, I'm so grateful to ICESCO and our whole body for inviting me here in among the galaxy of the space scientists, academicians, and a very, very learned crowd. And actually, some of the speeches I heard were so intriguing. I must appreciate, especially the president of ICESCO referred to two ideas of having an international solar energy plant, a solar station, through which we can have an electricity 24 hours a day. And the clean, and again, the drinking water thing. I think two very, very, I would say, big ideas that he has introduced today in his opening speech. And I'm extremely, I never thought like that. And this is something very new for me. And space science is always so full of explorations. It's always a mystical thing that it is attached with the space science. And I don't know, I mean, history unknown. Human is always inspired, intrigued, and mystified by the space, by the stars. And the recent, actually, even if we see especially the Arab history, where as Morocco is hosting this seminar, the whole Arab history is full of the mystics about the stars, the kind of explorations that stars have brought to us and the human life. Obviously the modern space science starts with Galileo in 1609, using his early version of telescope, the way Galileo became the first person to record observations of the sky. He made his astronomical discovery also. He sparked the birth of modern astronomy with observation of the moon, phases of Venus, moons around Jupiter, sunspots, and the news that seemingly countless individual stars make up the Milky Way galaxy. At the time, most scientists believed that moon was a smooth sphere, but Galileo discovered that moon has mountains, spits, and other features just like Earth. So 1609 is the beginning of the modern space era, and obviously we have to give credit to Galileo, the great man of the human history, I would say. And then October 4, 1957, Russians launched their first satellite, Sputnik 1. The 183-pound basketball-sized satellite orbited the Earth in 98 minutes. So you can imagine that the 1609, when first, when the Galileo actually introduced this modern concept of space to us, it took hundreds of years. And after, in 1957, after about 300 years, man reached to a space place where they can actually launch the first satellite. Then 1961, Yuri Gagarin obviously became the first person in space, making a 108-minute orbital flights in his Vostok 1 spacecraft, another huge achievement of humans. In 1963, another, I must say, the hero of the space science politics is obviously the JFK, the John F. Kennedy, the great American president, who actually set aside all these notions that it's too expensive program and space programs, they need to be spent on the human first, and then you think of space. He set aside all these notions and came up with this famous quote when they say, but why some say the moon, he posed. Why choose this as our goal? We chose to go to this moon in the decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard. Because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best of our energies and skills, because that challenge is one that we are willing to accept, one we are willing to postpone, and one which we intend to win, and the others too. And this thinking of JFK actually led to this another huge leap forward for humankind as far as investments in the space is concerned and the new technologies are concerned. The spillover technology from the development of sophisticated management processes led to creation of this term that we know now as software. The whole concept of software actually came from the JFK case, this whole program, space program. And with this software, the creation of 747 twin jet commercial airline came in. And these innovations are now backbone of 21st century. The whole 21st century scientific innovations are actually revolves around software. And this is the kind of vision that we must give credit to JFK, that he introduced the world to this whole new sphere. When in July 20, 1961, the Apollo 11 crew successfully completed the national goal set by President J.F. Kennedy to perform a lunar landing and return to the Earth. NASA's Apollo 11 mission achieved the goal and made history when astronaut Neil Armstrong became the first person to set foot on, to set foot on the moon, famously declaring this one small step for one man, one giant leap for mankind. The moon itself is an exciting destination. Later, once the Apollo 16 astronauts landed, they used it as a viewing platform to look deep into cosmos, and thanks to crew of Apollo 16, for the very first time, a telescope similar to the one to be attached here was attached on the moon, explored the vastness of the space from the surface of another planetary body. Humankind started to learn more about space, dark matter, black holes, and other galaxies, etc. And then the launch of Hubble on April 24, 1990. This was launched to perform innumerable science observations that have revolutionized humanity understandings of the universe. Hubble was peered back into universe's distant past to locations more than 13.4 billion light years from Earth, capturing galaxies, merging, probing the supermassive black holes that lurk into depths and helping us better understand the history of expanding universe. And on November 2nd, 2000, the International Space Station, inhabited by 3 astronauts after 10 years and more than 30 missions, it is a result of unprecedented scientific and engineering collaborations among 5 space agencies representing 15 countries. Now, this the international cooperation in the space program is a hallmark of 21st century. And as the president of ICESCO in his speech mentioned, that this thinking of international collaboration into space sciences is actually the hallmark of 21st century. And this is actually an opening of new era. And I'm very happy to be part of this conference also, where this is another expression of our international cooperation with each other, and how that we can actually multiply our resources, the human resource, and achieve the missions that human body never thought of. So this is extremely important for us to step out from unilateralism and enter into multilateralism. So this is the way how the space science can actually move forward. I also would like to give some idea of Pakistan's space program. In Pakistan, actually, the great Dr. Abdul Salam, we owe our space program to this Nobel laureate, Dr. Abdul Salam, who did wonders for us in this space program. We found our space agency just 4 years after NASA. And in 1961, when we launched our first rocket, Rahbar, Pakistan was just the second country after USSR in this region that launched its rocket. And the modern space, we got a setback in between, when in 1970 to 1990 we have not been really able to keep up the great work initiated by Dr. Abdul Salam, and we lag behind. In my view, now in Pakistan, I would, as a Minister of Science and Technology, I was really looking forward for the private entrepreneurs to come forward and invest in Pakistan's space science. Even now, my idea will be that governments need to open up the space programs to the private entrepreneurs. The word belongs to private individuals. Governments will try to squeeze the space program only, and will look to the space program only with the security link, with the security lens. We will be actually bringing down the importance of space programs. So in my view, government should actually stay away from squeezing the space programs. Rather, they should facilitate private investors and private companies to come and invest in the space. And ideas like International Space Energy Station, ideas like clean water using space science, ideas like monitoring of agriculture crops, ideas like monitoring of disasters, and last but not the least, of colonizing the stars. These all ideas can be implemented if the governments, multinationals, they get together, and we give human minds more openness in these fields. So I hope this conference will go a long way to establish these principles among the whole, member nations. And we would like to collaborate. I'm here in Pakistan. We are very open for the collaborations. I would be very happy to facilitate any of, any country or the company who would like to come to Pakistan, invest in Pakistan in the space sciences, and we have huge opportunities. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you very much, Excellency. Yes, you certainly pointed out very rightly that in 1961, Pakistan was leading the space program at that time, and I hope that we will be again there again at the same space. We have the pleasure of listening to the SOPARCO Major General Amir Nadeem later on in the symposium, and hopefully we'll hear more about Pakistan's program from there. Let me just invite His Honorable Minister, Federal Minister for Science and Technology of Nigeria. He's also online with us. Excellency, very warm welcome to you. Now my next speaker is a very, very special guest of honor, His Excellency Cheick Modibo Diarra, who was the former Prime Minister of Mali. And he has a lot of achievements to his to his name, and I was trying to shortlist some of them, and I just didn't know what to leave out. His Excellency Cheick Diarra is a Malian astrophysicist and also a successful businessman and a politician. His Excellency studied mathematics, physics, and analytic mechanics in Paris from the University of Pierre and Marie Curie. He then obtained a master's in aerospace engineering and PhD in mechanical engineering from Howard University in Washington, DC. His Excellency was then picked up by Caltech's JPL, which is the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, to work on numerous NASA programs, including the Magellan probe to Venus, Ulysses probe to the Sun, Galileo spacecraft to Jupiter, Mars Observer, and Mars Pathfinder. He also worked as the Director of Education and Public Outreach for NASA's Mars Exploration Program. In 2012, His Excellency served as an acting Prime Minister of Mali, and the biggest honor for ICESCO is that His Excellency is one of its Goodwill Ambassador. Excellency, over to you.
Le maître de cérémonie, je vous remercie infiniment. Mesdames et messieurs, distingués participants, permettez-moi avant tout d'exprimer ma gratitude au docteur Salim Mohamed AlMalik, directeur général de l'ICESCO, pour l'aimable invitation qu'il a bien voulu me faire parvenir et l'honneur et le privilège qu'il m'a donné de m'adresser à cet auguste aéropage. Cela ne surprend guère si l'on sait que le docteur Salim Mohamed AlMalik, sous son magistère, a mis l'Afrique et les Africains au centre de sa vision et de sa stratégie d'action. Ce premier séminaire international sur les sciences de l'espace, par l'intérêt qu'il suscite, par la pertinence du thème, par la qualité des participants, fera date dans l'histoire de l'ICESCO parce qu'il met l'accent sur la formation des innovateurs de demain. Les bâtisseurs du futur, ce sont les jeunes. Et l'Afrique, le berceau de l'humanité, est aussi le continent de la jeunesse. Le séminaire nous invite à une vaste campagne de vulgarisation, de sensibilisation, d'information portant sur les sciences de l'espace. Un principe fondamental qui sous-tend la stratégie de la NASA lui impose d'inventer, de tester, d'utiliser que des nouvelles technologies et de les transférer au secteur privé pour leur réutilisation. Ce principe de transfert de technologies a permis et permet encore de maintenir les industries américaines au sommet de la compétitivité. Ce principe, à mon avis, est à l'origine de la rentabilité de l'investissement des contribuables américains dans l'exploration de l'espace. Dans les équipes des 5 missions auxquelles j'ai participé, figuraient et contribuaient des membres de d'autres agences spatiales et des universités de d'autres pays que les États-Unis. Et cela aussi bien dans les équipes techniques de conception et d'exécution des missions que dans les équipes d'analyse des données recueillies par ces missions. Ceci pour souligner que l'exploration de l'espace est une opportunité de rapprochement des pays, des cultures, des civilisations et des individus, bien sûr. De nos jours, une idée devenue presque une vérité générale véhicule une division manichéenne du monde. D'un côté, l'hémisphère sud, pauvre, en proie à la faim, à la soif, à la maladie, et de l'autre, l'hémisphère nord, riche et développé, le Sud doit avoir les pieds sur terre et faire face au fléau qui l'assaille, et le Nord peut se permettre de lever la tête avec les étoiles et se lancer à la conquête de l'espace pour le prestige. Il est aujourd'hui établi que les défis qui assaillent les pays du Sud peuvent trouver leur remède dans les travaux de recherche issus du domaine des études spatiales. Les études spatiales ne sont pas réservées à l'élite seule. Moi qui le dis, j'appartiens à la fois au pays le plus puissant du monde, les États-Unis, et à l'un des pays les plus pauvres de la planète, le Mali. Après l'atterrissage de la sonde Pathfinder, il m'a été demandé d'élaborer un programme capable de motiver les élèves, de stimuler les enseignants et d'informer le grand public. J'avais été choisi parce que j'étais le fruit de 3 systèmes éducatifs, le Mali, la France et les États-Unis. Durant 2 ans et demi, mon équipe et moi-même avons sillonné les États-Unis d'un bout à l'autre. Nous avons rencontré des entrepreneurs, des apprenants, des enseignants et un public de plus en plus nombreux. Partout, l'auditoire était plein d'enthousiasme chaque fois que l'on parlait d'espace et de robots. Nous avons poursuivi notre périple en Europe, en Asie et partout. Nous avons été rencontrés et nous avons rencontré aussi chez les apprenants le même enthousiasme. Au Mali, les lycéens qui assistaient à mes conférences dressaient des plans d'action, voulaient progresser et faire bouger les choses. Beaucoup d'entre eux qui voudraient être médecins, avocats et préfets rêvaient désormais d'être ingénieurs. Et cela est valable pour tout le continent. Ceci se traduit par un réel dynamisme du secteur. L'industrie spatiale africaine commence à s'organiser. Il s'agit maintenant d'inciter nos États à s'organiser et à s'orienter vers le développement des programmes spatiaux et à utiliser cette technologie dans le domaine de l'éducation, des sciences et de l'innovation. En octobre 2000, sous l'égide de l'ICESCO, a eu lieu à Riyad la première conférence islamique des ministres de l'enseignement supérieur et de la recherche scientifique, à laquelle j'ai été convié en même temps que Feu Ahmed Zouel, prix Nobel de chimie 1999. La conférence de Riyad a pris des résolutions fortes et la prise en compte de ces recommandations par le présent forum serait une contribution inestimable, à mon avis. À ce sujet, il faut saluer la création de l'Agence spatiale africaine pour permettre aux chercheurs de se réunir, de travailler ensemble et de mettre en place une politique spatiale commune. Bref, l'espace peut apporter une grande contribution au développement de l'Afrique, qui bénéficie d'un capital humain précieux, sa jeunesse. Ceci sera réalisé évidemment à condition que nous renoncions à la balkanisation et au micronationalisme et que nous mettions en commun nos ressources et nos intelligences pour préserver notre bien commun, notre planète. Je vous remercie de votre aimable attention.
Thank you very much, Excellency Cheick Modibo Diarra. It's always a pleasure to listen to you. Thank you very much, Excellencies, Director General Salim AlMalik, Admiral Thomas Zelibor, Professor Driss Ouaouicha, Fawad Chaudhry, and His Excellency Cheick Modibo Diarra for being with us in this opening session of the symposium. Thank you for your talks and thank you for your contribution. I now hand over the moderation of the leaders session to Dr. Sharif, Advisor, ICESCO.